sports fans, good afternoon. The PBnZ Sports Chaos Show coming at you live. We're outdoors this week. It's a great weekend here in the Northeast of New England. We love it. And by the way, we're celebrating a little merger this week. One of the all-time great local brewers, C.M. Adams from Boston Beer, has now merged with Dogfish. That is a marriage made in heaven. I love the Dogfish 60, don't you?
Oh, fantastic. I'm starting with my
and the summer ale. You got to have the summer ale in the summertime in Massachusetts. All right. Hey, our agenda this week. We got a little 2-minute update coming for you. We got some DYKs as always. We got a little French Open action apparently. Okay. We'll talk a little Stanley Cup and NBA playoffs. We got a little baseball. We'll talk a little Dustin Pedroia and a little Billy Buck. Unfortunately, passed away. And we'll conclude with home runs. Are all these home runs good or bad for baseball? We get some interesting points and thoughts on that for you folks.
We do.
All right, let's get right into the 2-minute update.
All right.
Hey, by the way, as the Laker world turns, the soap opera does not ever end, right? This week, Magic Johnson now was accused of being a monster by the GM, Rob Pelinka. He says he drove staff employees into therapy. Unbelievable. I can't wait till this saga ends. It's going to go on for a year, I think, anyways. Hey, you hear this one? This kid, R.J. Hampton, he's the 5th-rated basketball recruit in America coming out of high school. He's skipping school to play in Australia, of all places. So he's going to go to Australia for a year before he becomes NBA eligible. Did you know there are now 12 players in the NBA from Australia? Apparently it's the highest per capita country for basketball players in the NBA.
Well,
Adam Silver's concerned about this. And I got a little DYK for you. In Australia, get this, gets even better. At age 14, if you're a star player in Australia, you immediately go into a professional development league at 14 years old. You're done with school, you go to this professional development league, and you get trained around the clock to be a professional basketball player.
Interesting.
All right.
Love
the
Aussies.
Aussies.
All right.
Hey, call it softball. World Series started this weekend. Baseball Super Regionals underway. Apparently, I also heard this little nugget. Women's softball is now overtaking women's basketball in popularity. Do you agree?
It's fun to watch.
I love watching it, man.
I love watching it.
You can't beat beating a summer day watching softball, drinking a few beers, right?
Yeah,
I love it.
Yep.
By the way, my Sooners are now heading to their 4th semifinals in a row, so good for them. Did you hear this one? NFLPA, the National Football League Players Association, they warn their players, especially the rookies, save your money in advance of the last contract expiring in 2021. Are you concerned about a strike?
That smells a strike. That's got strike written all over it. And the NFL of all leagues is probably more prone to do something like that.
They are. Yeah. Hey, crazy sports injuries. You know what? I always laugh about when I hear about these silly things that happen to athletes. Giannis Cespedes from New York Mets played here briefly, right?
Yes, he did.
Out on rehab, apparently he can still work on his ranch wherever he lives with this ranch. He broke several bones on a fall on his ranch. Today you and I were cutting bushes down. Did you break any bones?
Almost.
Almost, but you didn't. And I loved it. Here's another good one. Carlos Correa, the shortstop from the Astros, he broke multiple ribs from getting a home massage.
Oh my God.
What the?
She must have been a beast.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I wonder what his wife thought about that one.
Yeah.
Hey, Tigers in Memorial this weekend. He apparently is now what? He's down. He's got.
He was 2 under. He's
2 under, right?
Going into today. I don't know how he's faring so far.
And last I knew, 3 guys I never heard of. Well, I did hear Troy Merritt, but they're tied for the lead at 9 under, right? So, good for them. Hey, you know, here's a good one for you. The other night, the Scripps National Spelling Bee. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, they couldn't. They broke the book.
They broke the book. 8 6th graders, and apparently they ended in an 8-way tie because these adults could not find more challenging words to give 6th graders.
I know.
Go figure.
I know. It's
all right.
Pretty impressive. Actually.
PB, we talked last week about the Indy 500. What was the result there? Was that your pick?
Page, no. Well, he was in my discussion.
He was,
yeah,
okay.
He was in my discussion. I had 3 picks. And what was interesting about that race is that it ended, had the final 20 laps were after a major crash.
Yeah.
So they stopped the race. It's not even a yellow flag, right? Yellow flag, they still go around. They're gaining laps. They stop the race. They all line up. And they just wait until it's ready to restart because they had to clean all the carnage off from the major accident that occurred. And then they restart the race, and there were 20 laps to go. And it was very interesting because Alexander Rossi was still in it, as well as Page now, and they were going back and forth, back and forth. It's a pretty interesting end to that race. Of all,
It was one of the closest races of all time, right?
It was, and Paige now pulled it out. It was fun. And in the morning we had the
Grand Prix in Monte Carlo,
the Monaco Grand Prix, which was fun, right?
Little DYK about Pagenaud. Apparently, he's only the second parishioner from Paris, French, right, to win it since a guy named Chevrolet. Ironically,
really?
Yes,
Oh,
1927.
wow. All right.
Yeah. All right, we're moving on. We're going to talk a little tennis this week as well. So enough talking in circles. We're going to move into tennis. We're going to talk about going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Little French Open. What do you got there? You got a little fun fact for us. DYK on the French Open.
Yeah. So who was the last? No, not the last. Who was the youngest person to ever win the French Open?
American, I know that, but I can't remember his name.
Okay, it's actually Michael Chang.
Michael Chang.
He was
oh my
remember
God.
him back in '89? He was
Yeah.
17 years old, 3 months, and he won the French Open. So
Wow.
that's pretty
Michael
impressive to do that.
Chang, yeah. There was some good players back then.
Yeah.
McEnroe was still playing. Bjorn Borg was still playing.
Yeah.
Ivan Lendl was just getting his stride. Interesting.
Yeah.
What do you got? What's happening so far in the French Open? There's been a couple upsets on the women's side, I believe, correct?
Yes. The number one seed got knocked off, right?
Osaki, Naomi,
Yep.
Osaki,
and
correct?
Serena lost today.
Serena's out. Can
Serena's
you believe it?
Yeah.
I still think Serena's going to lose another 25 pounds to get back in the game. But
Yeah,
that's just my
maybe,
opinion.
Maybe. So right now, Simona Halep is probably your odds-on favorite to win the French
You
Open
like
on the women's
her,
side.
okay.
Yeah, I like Halep.
I like Sloane Stephens, the American.
Okay, all right. What about on the men's side?
Well, the
got-
top three are still there. We talked about them being one of the best rivalries in sports last week, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Joker's still in it.
Yep.
Federer's still in it. And
And
Mr. Clay Feet himself, right?
Mr. Clay Feet himself. So Nadal, 11 French Opens in his career. Pretty impressive. He's also the defending champion. Odds-on favorite to win that tournament right now. I look at...
Is that your pick?
Yeah, it's my pick. I'll take Nadal again all day, and I think he'll go up against Djokovic. That's going to be a match of the ages, I think, when you put Nadal and Novak Djokovic in the final.
You know what?
It'll be fun.
I'm picking Federer till he dies.
Yeah?
I love the guy.
All right.
He's one of the greatest champions of any sport in our lifetime, I
Yeah,
think.
he is the GOAT in that sport, but I just, in the French, I think he's only won one French. I just don't see him coming through.
He's like Brady, though. How do you bet against them? You never know, right? When
Yeah.
you think that odds are against them, right? The same type of thing. You know what? Brady and him have to do a commercial someday. Don't you think so?
That'd be interesting.
It would be.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to move on to what we love right now, being Bostonians. The chance for another title. I don't want to jinx it, though. Stanley Cup Finals. It is 1-1. PB, you did predict that split. Unfortunately, at home, we did lose. Let me ask you a question. Would you rather lose Game 1 as the home team or Game 2 heading out on the road?
I'm going to go with Game 2. I think winning Game 1 just establishes yourself in the series. Say,
Okay.
hey, we're coming to play. We're at home.
So you'd rather win Game 1?
Get out on that great first foot. And statistically, winning Game 1 also puts you in a good place. So I'm going to go Game 1.
So Game 1. So you're always in front. You're the chase. As opposed
Right,
to the
you've
chase.
right, because even if you lose Game
Opposed to
2,
the
you can
chaser.
still say we never trailed in this series. Whereas
Right.
if you lose Game 1, you have trailed in the series.
Good point. I will say this. I would rather win Game 2 heading out on the road because I have a little momentum before I go into hostile territory, and I have some momentum going on at that point in time, so I wouldn't mind. If I'm going to split, if I have to split, let me win Game 2 to head back to the other team's ice at that point in time. Speaking of the other team's ice, I know you've been talking about this for a couple weeks now, this whole Gloria thing. You know what? I had to look into it more because I was like, where did he come up with this thing? Gloria! And so, thank you, ESPN, for helping me out with this one. A great story about Gloria. Apparently, it starts not in St. Louis. Did you know that?
Yeah, I actually do because
Starts in South Philly.
my corporate office is in Philly. I'm there a lot, so I do know the background of the story actually. But go ahead, tell our fans.
Unbelievable. So these guys, they run a gentleman's social club down in South Philadelphia. They happen to be a St. Louis Blues fan club down there in the social club. Believe it or not, in Flyer territory, right?
Yeah.
They happen to be called the Jacks, and every year on New Year's Day, there's a parade called Mama's Parade. They ended up winning the Mama's Parade this past year. Their theme was the Gloria song all season long from the summer on. And the night they were celebrating their win, January 6th, they happened to invite some St. Louis Blues who were in town to play the Flyers to stop by. And lo and behold, what happens? Some Blues came by and hung out with these dudes, right?
Yeah. And then the next thing you know,
They go on a winning streak.
they went into Philly the next night. They beat the Flyers, and Gloria's been their theme song ever since.
Ever since.
So we have a little clip for you. from the stadium. I mean, from the
bar. Is that the night the Blues players were there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a wild story. Imagine that. You just a little. By the way, I also heard this. That club, the address of that club, you can't even find on Google Maps. I thought Google knew everything. Apparently not. All right. Moving on. Do you think, at this point in time, where the series is 1-1, are the Bruins still in a good position in your mind?
Yeah, because what I predicted was a split in Boston, a split in St. Louis. Obviously, I would rather that split be the Bruins winning tonight to, again, never be down in that series and then lose Game 4. But even if they lose tonight, I'm not. Today is not the must-win.
So you're okay. If they lose today and they go down 2-1, you're okay with that?
To me, the loser tonight will be in a must-win in the next
Game 4.
Because if you go down 3-1, that's a long road.
Well, especially for the Blues, if they go home down 3-1, right?
So going into that game, so tonight I'm not so much concerned.
Okay.
Game 4, I really think that's going to be the...
Hey, by the way, Torrey Krug had a huge hit on Rob Thomas, not the guy from the band, but Rob Thomas, the player from the Blues. Did that set the tone for this thing? That was an unbelievable hit. Lost his helmet, skated up the ice, found him. Yeah. No penalty involved. Apparently people thought it should have been a penalty.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
He left his feet. It could have been. But
dude, was 5'9", like 150 pounds.
I know. It was ballsy. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, he lost his helmet. He was determined. He came down the ice, and without a helmet to throw yourself off your feet like that. And I mean, the hit was legal. I mean,
it was legal for sure. I know people are questioning it, but it was legal by the rule book, right? Yeah.
So good for him. I think that gave the Bruins a little
all right,
juice.
Go Bees! We love you, man. Come on, let's pull it out. We got to win at least one. But if you win 2, this thing's over in 5. I think. Don't you agree? If they win 2, there.
If they win 2,
coming home.
Yeah, I mean, my original prediction was Bees in 6. So, but yeah, I mean, if you sweep in St. Louis, you're putting yourself in a good place.
I think it's over at that point.
But I think they split in St. Louis, go 2-2. They come back to Boston, then win 3-2, and then they go win in St. Louis in Game 6.
Okay,
that's what I'm predicting right now.
All right. Hey, by the way, we got another playoff going on, the NBA Finals. Yep. This is an interesting one. Before we get into the NBA Finals, before the finals start, Doc Rivers, remember him? Used to be the Celtics coach, won the championship in 2008. He was on the Finals preview show Tuesday night. He was simply asked to talk about Kawhi. He compared him to Michael Jordan. You know what happened the next day?
What's that?
NBA fined him $50,000 for tampering.
That's ridiculous.
What's this world coming to? He was asked to do an analysis. Oh, my God. All right. I got to ask you a question. If the Splash Brothers were to score 55 points, Draymond Green gets a triple-double, and Kawhi Leonard gets only 5 baskets for an entire game, who wins?
Hey, Golden State.
And yet Toronto's up 1-0, and all that happened. By the way, you picked Golden State to win the whole thing, right?
Yeah, I'd still stick with that.
You're sticking with that?
Even if they drop Game 2 and go down 2-0, I still would put Golden State to come back and win that series.
Okay.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think Golden State's going to take Game 2, but I'm not going to give up on them until the end. And in my heart, I want Toronto to win. Trust me, I don't want Golden State to win, but I
don't want them to be called a dynasty.
Yeah, but Golden State's just that good.
By the way, I did pick Toronto at one point in time, right?
You did. Yeah, I mean, you picked them from the very beginning. You picked Toronto to beat Golden State, and I picked Golden State to beat Toronto. We both had the same final. We both there, so our basketball prediction's been spot on. Except
I know I wavered a little bit.
I stuck every week with my pick. You wavered every single week, you know?
Here's what I got to say. So for a while, I was thinking about the flash and the smoothness and all the chemistry that Golden State has because the West is the sexier conference, right?
Yeah.
But you know what? I forgot about my roots going back to 1980s when Kevin McHale, clothesline, Kurt Rambis, and the Celtics took down the Showtime Lakers. The toughness of the East has always been the way to go. They play better defense. I should have stuck with my guns. Toronto, I think, is going to win this thing at the end of the day.
Wow.
That's my prediction. I'm sticking with it.
Right.
Hey, by the way, is this dude Drake, is he going to have an impact in these playoffs or what? I mean, I can't believe that we're talking about some guy in the stands.
I know.
Not in the stands. He's on the friggin' court.
He's on the floor. Basically, he's on the end of the bench. But it's fun, right? It's kind of a fun little thing. It's like he's a ball buster, and he's like gets in people's faces, and
I guess he's a little bit like Spike Lee was back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Or Jack Nicholson from the Showtime Lakers, right?
Yeah.
It is amazing.
I have no problem with it.
He's the story right now.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, by the way, moving on, a little baseball talk. First of all, we got to talk about the Red Sox. They are in the Bronx. They're already down 1-0 in that series. It's a big series for them. A little fun fact: did you know the Yankees right now in the last 41 games are 31-10?
Oh, that's impressive.
It's the best record in baseball over the last 41 games.
Wow.
Speaking of stuff that's impressive, the Red Sox going to last Tuesday night's game had a streak. 137 games in a row where if they've been up 3 runs or more after the 8th inning they win, and then what happened? They end up friggin' losing. And speaking of the Yankees, they also have a little streak going for them. After last night, it continues. 41-0 when leading after the 7th inning.
Wow,
that's more impressive.
That speaks to the bullpen. Strong bullpen.
Speaking of bullpens, I wish we had one. Hey, Dustin, big news this week, right? He announced he's taking 60 days off. I know you said it before. You think he's all done, but is this it?
Yeah, I mean,
the nail in the coffin?
I called this months ago. He's done. There's no way.
Is this Manny Machado's fault? I want to know. Is this Manny Machado's fault?
Oh, he's never felt the same since.
Never since, right?
So I'm going to say yeah.
By the way, irony of ironies, the Sox play San Diego August 23rd, August 24th, August 25th. Does Manny get beamed by somebody from the Red Sox staff?
I'm going to go yeah. Too bad Joe Kelly was
Joe Kelly was still in?
Trade deadline. We get Joe Kelly.
Just for that series?
Just for that one game.
He plunks Machado in his backside. Oh, my God.
No, the knee. We got to get him in the knee.
No,
knee for a knee.
All right, knee for a knee. Oh, knee for a knee. All right.
All right, knee for a knee.
Hey, by the way, a little tragic stuff this week. We had 2 deaths in sports. Bart Starr, 2-time Super Bowl MVP, right? One of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I know his stats don't show it. Did you know this? Little fun fact. DYK. He was 9-1 in playoff games. 9-1. Better than Brady.
Wow.
90%.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And little hometown hero, well, somewhat of a hero, I guess. Other people say not, and you're going to tell us that in a moment. Billy Buck. Billy Buckner passed away at the age of 69. Did he get an unfair rap in Boston?
No.
For the 86 series?
No. He absolutely was the reason why we lost that series. That was
so
a
you
routine.
Put it clearly on him, even though there was one more game to go after that.
It doesn't matter because that play ended the series in 6 games, and it was a routine ground ball the first base.
The Red Sox was it tied or were up? I forget. I think that was tied.
Oh, were they tied? Okay. No, I thought that play would have ended the game, but I'll have to look that up. But anyways, yeah, he's to blame all day long.
I'm sorry, Billy Buck. I feel bad. Hey, you know what? Speaking of Billy Buck, I got to tell you this. I did not know this about him. So he played 22 years. I knew he played a long time. He was a .289 hitter, right? Around the same average Yaz had, who was in the Hall of Fame. 1,208 RBIs, 2,715 hits. And he won a batting title in 1980 when he batted .324. Did you know, little DYK, his 2,715 hits were more than 2 Hall of Famers. Can you guess who they were?
Teddy Baseball is one of them.
Teddy Ballgame, yeah.
Okay.
Teddy Ballgame, 2,654 hits, and Joe DiMaggio, 2 of the all-time greats. He had more hits than.
That's crazy. Wow.
Billy Buck, we missed you, buddy. Sorry. All right, moving on. We're going to have a little debate this week. First of all, before we get into that, Yaz's grandson, Mike Yastrzemski, hit his first Major League home run last night for the Giants. Good for him. Speaking of home runs, we're going to have a little debate. I'm not in favor of this. PB is home runs. Are they killing the game right now? As you may have just heard, the month of May ended. The most home runs in 1 month ever. 1,132 home runs with 3 teams, including our Red Sox and the Cubs and the Twins, all hitting 50 home runs each. Is this good for baseball, Paul? Tell me, is it really?
I think it's great for baseball.
It is?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think the home run ball... Tell me more. Well, the home run ball is something that excites the fans. When you're at a game and you see plays happening, someone maybe steals a base or gets a strikeout, yeah, you're happy, fans clap, whatever. But when home runs are hit, people are standing up, they're cheering, they're like waiting for that ball to go over the fence. There's just a different feeling of the fans when home runs are hit. And you remember that campaign back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s maybe?
I think I know where you're going. Yeah, go ahead.
Chicks dig the long ball.
Yes,
and they do. And guys dig the long ball too, I think. I think it's a good thing for baseball.
Let me ask you a question. So I get it. Everybody stands up. The ball's going on the fence. We're all standing there watching it. 4 seconds over, all right? A ball hit into the gap, right? It's hit into the gap. There's someone on first. A ball hit into the gap. Goes all the way to the fence. Center fielder gets the ball. He throws that thing in. It's a close play at second base. The guy that's on first is now running home. Or maybe it's not a close play at second. Maybe the shortstop takes the cutoff and throws it home. It lasts 7 to 8 seconds. Are you standing the whole time for that?
Yeah, Yeah, that is. I mean, that's a good point. That's a good argument against not saying that home runs are good for baseball. But I think it all day long.
And what about an inside the parker? I know it's a home run, but a little different animal, right?
Yeah.
An inside the parker?
Yeah.
That's about a 14, 15 second, unless it's David Ortiz, then it's like 23 seconds. But he's never hitting it inside the parker, right? But look at the suspense in that, right?
Yeah. All right, your argument's well received. I get it.
And you're a hockey guy. Let me ask you a question. Speaking of that, do you want to see a 10-7 hockey game or a 2-1?
It depends on how the game's being played. If it's a good game and there's a lot of action and there's a lot of possession in the offensive zones and you're getting shots on goal and unbelievable saves and good hits and stuff like that, then I could take it. Doesn't matter what the score is at that point. So.
My opinion is this. I think baseball is going to the point. It's already going this way with the home runs and the strikeouts going at an all-time pace as well. Yeah. You're going to go to a baseball game. Next time you go, you might see this. 7 home runs, 30 strikeouts between both teams. No plays by anybody in the infield. It's either a ball in the outfield, a ball over the fence, or a strikeout. End of story.
It's like wiffle ball.
Yeah. At the end of the day.
Let me ask you this. You're a football guy, so let me ask you this. Would you rather the Sunday night football game, Pats, Chiefs last year, 43-40, or would you rather 6-3?
Well, I would never want to see a 6-3 game. You're right.
Okay.
All right. I got to see some points. But it comes in different ways. It doesn't have to be an 80-yard touchdown pass every time. It could be an 80-yard TD drive, right? A little different, right?
Which would be nice, too.
Right. So when you score runs with doubles, singles, and maybe an occasional triple or a home run, a little different game than watching 7 blasts over the fence and 14 strikeouts.
The whole point of every sport is to score.
It is.
It's the point of every sport. That's the why you're playing the game, to score. So when you score, then that's important. So offense is king.
All right.
And I know you can score in different ways in baseball because it doesn't have to be a home run every time, but a home run is instantaneous. It's an instant score.
Instant satisfaction, as PB likes to say. Yeah. Instant satisfaction, ladies. All right. Hey, we're going to wrap it up on a little bit of a somber note. This tragic incident that happened in the Houston Astros this past week. Albert Amora Jr., he's now one of my all-time favorite players, kid from the Cubs, simply because he showed his true emotion after hitting the poor girl with the ball. Very dramatic. You know what, Albert, we appreciate your emotion and your support for that little girl. And by the way, I support Major League Baseball. You got to put netting around the whole park, at least up to the foul poles, don't you think, at this point in time?
Yeah, you do. After something like that, you absolutely do. And he was completely distraught in the incident.
Unbelievable, man.
He had his face in the glove.
He's got 2 kids.
He had his face in his glove most of the time. He didn't even show his face. And yeah, it's just a tragic situation. So,
all right.
Yeah. So next week, what do we got on the agenda for next week?
US World Cup, right?
Women's World Cup.
Soccer World Cup. We got right.
It actually kicks off on Friday, June 7th, which will be prior to our show. The host country, France, will be playing South Korea. U.S. does not play until Tuesday the 11th.
Okay.
So there'll be some other games will be starting on Saturday when we do our show.
USA.
And we'll make our predictions and who we think is going to come out of the groups and what that's going to look like. So.
And then the following week is the U.S. Open, correct?
Yes.
All right. So maybe we'll talk a little U.S. Open preview as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, fans, thank you very much for following us on the PBnZ Sports Chaos Show. Have a great day. Hit the button.